Rejoice, it's that time of year again. Christmas? Nah, keep your baubles, turkey and heartwarming John Lewis adverts. It is time to look beyond 2020, something I think a few of us have been doing since about February, and look deep into 2021, when we hope the C word does, for want of a better phrase, off, and we're back to socialising and enjoying life on two wheels. So, assuming we aren't too far from being able to look back on 2020 as that year, then perhaps 2021 is the perfect time to put a deposit down on a brand new motorcycle. And you've got plenty to choose from, so much so that our original 10 motorcycles we cannot wait to ride in 2021 video here is actually a dirty dozen of them. Nah, maths wasn't our strong point. Motorcycles definitely are though. One of Europe's best-selling motorcycles, so basically one of, if not the most important model in Yamaha's range, you'd have forgiven Yamaha for wanting to play it relatively safe with the latest generation MT-09. Instead, it has ventured further into the dark side of Japan, with a quirky redesign that certainly split opinion when it first hit Visordown. But hey, all publicity is good publicity, right? Suffice to say, it will certainly help you stand out, but even if you're not sold on the looks, there is still plenty of good motorcycle here to impress. Under the skin, the Yamaha MT-09 has a brand new triple-cylinder 889cc engine at its disposal, boasting an extra 4 brake horsepower, plus 68 pounds-feet of torque, arriving at 7,000 RPM. New KYB forks and rear shock are introduced to fine-tune the chassis, while innovations include 10-spoke spin-forged wheels, which are created by heating the metal up and spinning them on high-pressure rollers. The point? Well, Yamaha is claiming them to be the lightest wheels it has ever produced, which should improve acceleration, braking and handling. And of course, they are signature orange. If you're after a sharper riding experience, then Yamaha has also revealed the flagship, more Sportster-inspired SP variant. From one opinion-dividing facelift to another, behold the Kawasaki Ninja ZX-10R and ZX-10RR, which comes 12 months on from fresh updates for the Yamaha R1 and Honda CBR 1000 RRR, which drops down a pecking order on the road, if not the track, as Jonathan Ray romped to, count them, a 6th World Superbike Championship title in 2020. Though perhaps a more subtle launch than we had perhaps anticipated for one of the loudest motorcycles in the world, especially the most lurid take yet on that iconic green livery on the RR, the design, especially that front end, has generated some debate by adopting the recent trend for sunken lurking headlights, but doing it in a Kawasaki way with lots of angles and edges. Front on, well, we'll let you decide on that, but from the profile it does give the ZX-10R a much sharper silhouette, but there are no wings to ruffle the svelter fairings. That's perhaps no coincidence. Why? Well, given Mr. Ray reportedly wants to see an increase in power to go up against Honda and Ducati, Kawasaki has otherwise resisted going toe-to-toe in terms of power figures. So the gains look as though they'll be made on the road, or rather on the track, with Kawasaki promising the redesign is focused on better stability, better aerodynamics and better handling. In the world of super powerful sports bikes you can't really unleash on the road if you want to keep your license, this perhaps actually makes sense. Owning a Triumph Roadster just got a bit more affordable courtesy of this, the all-new Trident, which provides an iconic nameplate to represent new entry points into the British firm's range. Settling in below the speed triple, the Trident had its single circular headlamp fixed firmly on the lucrative middleweight Roadster sector, and rivals that include the Kawasaki Z650, the Honda CB650R, and the fresh Yamaha MT-07, which we'll be featuring later into this video. Designed to blend all that is good and synonymous with Triumph, there's been the sporty looks, the tune of a triple-cylinder engine, and that essence that only comes with the brand, the Trident blends it all into a compact package aimed directly at a younger audience. At its heart is an 80 brake horsepower 660cc 3-cylinder engine formerly powered the A2 compatible Street Triple S, albeit given a big update for 2021. Triumph hoping this unique proposition of a 3-cylinder engine will prove a particularly attractive selling point. With such a huge pool of potential sales to tap into, it's no understatement to suggest that the Trident could be Triumph's most important launch for a long time. Honda's big-selling naked flagship, the CB1000R, receives an update for 2021. They immediately take out the magnifying glass to spot the changes. But then, why change a winning formula? Because the Neo Cafe Racer styling remains fairly intact to maintain the CB1000R's handsome appearance, and manage to be sporty, retro and classy at the same time. But if you look hard enough, you'll see an MV Augusta Brutale aping headlight, 7-spoke cast aluminium Y-pattern wheels, and a clear finish to the subframe. The 143 brake horsepower 1000cc engine now meets Euro 5 requirements, while a new TFT dash and some added connectivity tech are also highlights, as is the inclusion of a new black edition which, obviously, comes in black, which together with some chrome detailing gives it a meaner, stealthier appearance. After more than a year of increasingly insufferable teasing, the Ducati Multistrada V4 has finally landed. Of course, it wouldn't have taken a genius to realise a V4 engine that started life in the Panigale would eventually find its way into the Multistrada. Even so, after confirming the model's existence over a year ago, the drip feed of info, including in inverted commas spy shots which were so good it was clearly only Ducati hiding in the bushes, means we pretty much knew what to expect when it eventually dropped. So here it is, ta-da! Continuing to blur the lines between sports, tour and adventure, Ducati will hope the Multistrada V4 won't be less than the sum of all its parts as a result, which is just as well because it's actually very expensive. It's attempted to achieve this by tweaking the V4 into a new 1158cc engine, one that says it has been designed to go to 60,000 kilometers between service intervals. As Ducati's effective flagship, the tech ultimately reflects this, most notably the radar cruise control, which is designed to do the job of watching out for sudden movements from cars and account for blind spots while you're riding. And obviously because it's Ducati, it looks pretty sharp too. If the Honda X-ADV is the answer to a question we're not sure anyone ever asked, then at the very least you can't help but be a little bit curious about the roided scooter with its intrepid adventure aspirations. Now in its second generation, the niche establishing go-anywhere scooter has turned out to be a surprise success story for Honda in Europe, while anyone who might think such a small two-wheeler is all show and no go might want to actually give it a crack on the rough stuff. For 2021, the already eye-catching looks have been sharpened further with a rakish front end and a few rugged flourishes to hammer home the point. Now Euro 5 compliant, the engine offers a peak output of 57.7 brake horsepower, while tech updates see a new 5-inch TFT dash, Honda smartphone voice control system, and revisions to the selectable torque control, depending on whether you're ripping up the city streets or the muddy trail. There is a lot going on here for a scooter, but then it is a lot for a scooter, coming in at just over £10,000. Why launch one Yamaha MT naked when you can launch two? Not content with putting all of its hard work into the MT-09, Yamaha has gone ahead and given the MT-07 a big old update for 2021 as well. As the only MT in the lineup not to ever receive the range-wide slanted headlight treatment, Yamaha has instead jumped forward and adopted a design language showcased, divisively, on the MT-09. They aren't identical though, and we may actually prefer the MT-07's more waspish front end, one that certainly adds an edge to a class perhaps lacking in outlandish designs. Rebooted take on the Trident, the updates are less thorough under the skin, now that it retains the 690cc parallel twin CP2 engine, which is now Euro 5'd up, while retaining the same 74 brake horsepower. Some new colours, a reverse LCD dash, and tweaks to the ergonomics mean if you're an MT-07 owner now and you like the looks, then everything else will feel pleasantly familiar. The revered M nameplate comes to Motorrad for the first time with this, the BMW M1000RR. What's in a letter? Well, heritage for sporting BMW cars designed to win on tracks stretching back decades, which is exactly why it's being attached to this two-wheel range for the first time, as an upgraded and pumped-up version of the S1000RR sports bike. Strictly speaking, this is BMW making a race bike we can buy, and now it will be in a homologate to compete in the World Superbike Championship, to hopefully fare better than the S1000RR, which looked a little underpowered and flaccid compared with its rivals. As such, this special will be sold in limited numbers only, as reflected in its £30,000 plus price tag, but to ensure it is worth it, there is a whole lot of trickery going on here. Power is up to 212 brake horsepower, weight is down to 192 kilograms, and it has now sprouted some wings for aerodynamic effect. After all, while the S1000RR may not be winning on track, it remains arguably the best sports bike to live with day to day. But living day to day doesn't win you titles, so expect this BMW to be less pop to the shops and more whole shot into turn one. KTM has gone back to what it does best with the latest generation of its flagship Adventure R, making the most of its upgrade to a new 889cc engine to bring in a host of changes to one of motorcycling's ultimate go-anywhere off-roaders. Power is up 9 brake horsepower, and close suspension partners WP have been very busy under the skin, ensuring it is as refined on the road as it is capable of scaling mountains. Better still, if you feared KTM was at risk of going a bit soft, fear not, because there is now an 890 Adventure R Rally, which harnesses the very best of its experience from utterly dominating the Dakar Rally for the past 20 years. With its own special rally mode, how cool does that sound? It boasts, KTM claims, instantaneous throttle response and 9 levels of rear wheel slip control, so you can go ahead and pretend you're an everyday Sam Sunderland, albeit perhaps on the beach rather than the Saudi Arabian dunes. There is a lot to admire about Royal Enfield's modest and honest motorcycle range. The Indian powerhouse is increasingly casting its gaze beyond its home market for a bigger slice of the global pie, and judging by sales figures, its great value retro-inspired approach has certainly found a niche. Which brings us to the Meteor 350, which will vie for top spot of the sales charts in the world's largest motorcycle market. So yeah, this is a big deal. Moreover, it's coming to Europe too at some point, we are reliably informed. And as you expect, the Meteor retains a classic silhouette with a few nods to prove it is a 2020 model. While we've become used to getting what we pay for in terms of specification with previous Royal Enfield models, LED lights, a TFT meter and Bluetooth connectivity means it's actually well kitted out for a price, which at a direct equivalent of £2,000 Indian rupee to British pounds, is likely to undercut most, if not all rivals, even when the inevitable markup is applied. Unlike other models on this list, the Harley-Davidson Pan America hasn't just been unveiled. In fact, we've been waiting for Harley's much anticipated and much discussed foray into the ADV market for quite some time. But then an overhaul behind the scenes this year and a complete change of strategy meant it was a risk this behemoth wouldn't actually go ahead. However, the Pan America has survived the axe and will hit our roads in 2021 at some point. Unlike the Bronx Street Fighter, which has been put on the back burner, which is PR for dead in the water. You certainly can't miss the Pan America, proving big, brash and in your face as you'd expect from the most American of companies, but the jury's admittedly still out on that rather angular snout, which, as many have pointed out, seems to pay homage to a certain shark. The important bit is under the skin though, courtesy of an all-new 1250cc 60-degree V-angle Revolution Max engine, which is almost as bold looking as the bike itself, and will be at the heart of a number of new models coming up from the big HD. We're still waiting for the finer details of its oily bits, but after such a long wait, this is one motorcycle we really actually can't wait to get our hands on. We won't say we've saved the best until last, but we've certainly saved the baddest until last, the Bimota TESI H2. Not much gets past us when it comes to new motorcycles, but you'll be hard-pressed to find any journalist who was expecting this to make its bow at EICMA last year. Celebrating a rebirth of sorts for a brand that is seemingly just too iconic to let slip away, this time, however, it has a very significant and wealthy new backer in Kawasaki behind it, which has taken a 49% share in the company. Quite why? Well, we have a few guesses, but one is a way for Kawasaki to tap into Bimota's exclusivity for high-end premium machinery, which is where the TESI H2 comes in, a bike that, as the name suggests, takes the Kawasaki H2 and yet somehow, remarkably, managed to make it even more outlandish, with slashes, creases, wings everywhere, not to mention that hub steer front end. Stats are similar to the H2 with a supercharged 230 brake horsepower engine going on to a top speed that tickles the magic 200 mph barrier. So if they're so similar, why have both? Well, rumours suggest the Kawasaki H2, iconic though it is heading out of production, leaving this as its de facto replacement. The H2 is almost dead. Long live the TESI H2.